Morning. It's the news. So today's all cap story is about how Canada and China have hit back with tariffs. Now, today, the New York Times does not carry any coverage of the State of the Union address last night. I think that's a great thing because if you were watching the State of the Union, it was long. It was 100 minutes long. And I was not watching it. I was reading my friends texting back and forth, watching it, and saying that they wished they were drunk. I think that's all we need to know. Anyway, the paper really does do a deep dive into the response to Trump's tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. What I find particularly interesting about it is this story, which is about how effectively Trump's tariffs against Mexico have propped up Claudia Sheinbaum, who's the president of Mexico. She now has 80% approval ratings. All of her people love her, and they're saying that it's right that she is instituting these proud made in Mexico policies, and she's standing up to Trump. It's particularly interesting that she basically did everything that Trump asked. So there's this story here saying Mexico gave Trump everything he wanted, and it didn't matter. He asked her to give up 30 cartel leaders. He asked her to effectively police the border more effectively, and she did, and Mexico did. And then Trump says, well, it's still not enough. I'm going to put these 25% tariffs on you. It's weird because not only is he propping up Claudia Sheinbaum, he's also propping up Keir Starmer, who's a centre-left leader of the UK right now. Starmer this weekend had to lead a peace summit on Ukraine because obviously Donald Trump threw his toys out of the pram on Friday in the Oval Office. So the effect of having this toddler in the Oval Office is that all of these other leaders around the world get to act like mature adults, and their people seem to prefer that in general. The Canadian president also, Justin Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, as Trump has been calling him, because Trump has said that he wants to annex Canada. Again, if you talk about annexing a country, you're going to make the leader of that country stronger in their own backyard. It's a weird policy. It's a weird policy. And you have to think there isn't actually a strategy behind it. That's what people have said about Trump's Ukraine policy. It's also what people are saying about Trump's trade policy. If you look at the stock market the last 2 days, down 4%, roughly 4%. If you have a $400,000 401k, about $20,000. That's real money, and it's really hurting Americans' pocketbooks. Inflation is likely to go up about 0.5%. According to in the next 6 months, according to analysts, over the tariffs. And of course, don't forget, if you buy anything that's come from the countries the tariffs are on, you're going to be paying a premium for those products. So at a time when eggs are $9 a pop for a dozen, which is an awful lot of money for eggs, I want to go out and buy a car. It's going to cost me a lot more money. It's also difficult to tell where these cars come from. So let's say you buy an SUV here in the US, there's a good chance that at least 40% of those materials to make that car came from abroad. They were manufactured in some of these countries. So these manufacturers are going to have to absorb those costs. Now, probably what will happen, if I'm reading the room, is Trump will reverse these policies, because there's no way that politically he is going to be able to stand the continual decline of the US economy. That said, during COVID, he told people to drink bleach. Now, what's really interesting about the story on the tariffs is this last quote from Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas. If you recall, Senator Ted Cruz is not exactly a very nice man, but he has said today that he hopes that the tariffs would not persist for an extended period. Texas does an enormous amount of trade with both Mexico and Canada, Mr. Cruz said. So my hope is these tariffs act as the incentive that President Trump said they were designed to be. Amazing spine from a Republican senator, particularly when Trump has said that he will run primary opponents against senators who challenge him. I don't expect that Ted Cruz really cares what happens now. He's failed in his bid to run for leader of the Republican Party twice now. And honestly, I think most of us accept that Ted Cruz will always just be Ted Cruz in Texas. So he can be a little bit more outspoken than some of his colleagues. He is effectively saying there, Donald, please do what you said and make these a negotiating tactic rather than, ruining my state's trade opportunities with other countries. Who knows? I don't think Donald's shown much sign of listening to his colleagues, to anyone, other than to that inner voice that tells him that the spice must flow. So we're going to see what happens. I really appreciate you. I'm Matt Davis. Thank you for reading the newspaper with me, so that you don't have to read the newspaper. I'm here every day. I'm really enjoying doing these, and I really appreciate all the positive feedback you've given me. If you ever want to join this broadcast, text me, and I'll bring you in the studio. Otherwise, I'll just be ranting here on my own for the next 4 years. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to end this stream now.